In this video, I'm going to share with you the brutally honest truth about the clothes you need to declutter from your closet right now. And no, it's not going to be the obvious things like your socks with holes in them or your clothes from your boho chic infinity scarf era. We don't judge. It's the clothes that almost everyone has in their closet, but it is secretly ruining your style. Once you get rid of these 10 items, you're going to feel so much lighter and so much better about your wardrobe and your style. Not to mention, you're never gonna waste money on these pieces again. So let's start with the worst but unexpected offender, your meh pieces. After years of decluttering my own closet, I have learned that it's not always like the ugly pieces, the worn out pieces, or the unwearable pieces that are the worst ones in your closet. Sometimes they're actually the pieces that you end up wearing the most, but you don't actually love them. So think your go-to hoodie and leggings combo. Yes, these pieces, this outfit is extremely comfortable, but they don't necessarily make you feel good, they just make it so you don't really have to think about it. And that, my friend, is a sign of decision fatigue. In a single day, you're already making over 35,000 decisions, so when you're tired or rushing in the morning, your brain will always default to the path of least resistance. So if your meh outfits are front and center, that's what you're gonna reach for every time. Now hear me out, because I'm not saying that you have to get rid of these pieces altogether, but if your goal is to have a curated wardrobe that you actually wear and that you actually feel good in, these pieces kinda gotta go. But you want to curate your wardrobe so it creates an environment that actually supports the habit of getting dressed. Which means that you need to make the clothes that you want to wear more of easier to see, and the ones that don't, just a bit more difficult to reach for. So as cozy and comfortable as these pieces are, I would say at the very least, take them out of your wardrobe and set them aside somewhere else, out of sight, and just call it your emergency comfies drawer. They'll still be accessible, but they're not going to be the thing that you reach for every single day. And this in time will build the skill of styling, and you're going to get so much more wear out of your wardrobe. The leggings, the comfies, and the hoodies, as much as we all love them, they kind of got their cost per wear already. So it's time to focus on your other clothes. And if those low energy sort of meh outfits feel like they're dragging down your style, I think this next one is just straight up sabotaging your confidence, and they gotta go. It's those bully pieces. And I think we all know the ones. It's the jeans in your closet that you bought one size too small to motivate you into losing weight. Or the dress that's hanging in the back of your closet with the tag still on that you've never worn, but every time you see it, all you're reminded of is how much you paid for it. These clothes almost taunt you every time you open up your closet, and for me, they almost bring up a form of inner critic that I just don't need to be listening to, especially when I'm getting dressed. Like, they almost talk to you. It's like, oh, you know, I would wear this piece if I lost a little bit of weight, or if I was just a little bit more cool, I could finally wear this. No. If you're trying to get the most out of your closet, I don't think it's helpful to keep the pieces that we feel like we need to meet certain conditions in order to wear them. This is gonna sound a little bit cheesy, but I think your wardrobe should be your happy place. To me, it's a place where you go to play and have fun, not one where you go to feel worse about yourself. And while some clothes in your closet straight up judge you, others feel a bit more sneaky. They kind of flatter you and make you feel like you're buying into a much cooler version of yourself. And they're not as harsh as the bullies, but they still kind of mess with your head. And these are your fantasy self pieces. And you probably have some of these in your closet too. They're essentially the pieces that you bought for a version of yourself that doesn't actually exist. Think all the high heels you bought for all these cool parties you were gonna go to, or running around the city like Carrie Bradshaw in Manolos, but in your real life, your feet can't handle anything other than flats. Or my favorite, that super edgy outfit for that nightlife version of you, except you're in bed by 9 p.m. every night. These are probably the most enticing pieces to buy because you just picture the life that you could have, and it really does feel like something that you can buy. I can relate to this because I used to shop primarily for my fantasy self. But the hard truth is, at least for my fantasy self, it was really about how I wanted to be seen by others and not necessarily how I truly saw myself, or who I even really wanted to become, and I think that's the difference. If those pieces reflect a version of yourself that you're actively working towards, I always like to think about it as a dress for the job you want kind of thing, then I think keep those pieces and learn to actually wear them. That's where I think the fantasy self is actually useful. But if those clothes just keep getting bypassed in your closet every single day, they turn into bully pieces, they make you feel guilty, and you never actually wear them, then it's time for them to go. So if you are going to be decluttering your closet, I think a great question to ask is, does this feel like me or my fantasy me? Because at the end of the day, if your closet is full of clothes for someone you're not, then it's always going to feel off. This next point I think everyone can relate to, but nobody actually really talks about. But before we get into that, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Mejuri. Mejuri was actually one of the first brands I ever worked with on my channel, so this feels very nostalgic for me. I love Mejuri for everyday, easy, wearable pieces that go with everything. Pretty much all of my jewelry is from Mejuri. I love their 14 karat gold pieces. I'm also getting into their silver pieces because I feel like it just works with my skin tone better. But they've stood up to the test of time for me and just are part of my everyday uniform. And with Mother's Day coming up, I think their pieces make for such a great gift. I chose a few pieces that I'm going to be gifting to my mom and just a couple for myself. My entire bracelet stack is from Mejuri, so I ended up adding this micro pearl bracelet. It's 14 karat gold made with freshwater pearls, and I think it just adds a little bit of something. And I'm going to be gifting my mom this 14 karat gold letter bracelet. It is so minimal and dainty, and I just got the letter J there for her name, Julia. I also added these chunky medium hoops in silver, which are great for every day, and I stacked it with the Pave Diamond X studs just for a little bit of glam and sparkle. I'm wearing one here, and I'm gonna give my mom the other one. So if you're shopping for a mom in your life, I think it would make a great gift. All my favorite pieces are gonna be linked down below. Thanks, Mejuri. So we've talked about the clothes that make you feel a bit blah, the ones that make you feel bad, and the ones that we buy for a version of ourselves that doesn't actually exist. But what about the stuff that's just annoying? These are your fussy clothes. These are the clothes I feel like drain your energy as you wear them, because you spend your whole day thinking about your outfit instead of what you're actually doing. So constantly pulling things up, adjusting straps, maybe it's itchy, adjusting waistbands, and just hoping that you don't have a wardrobe malfunction. Like, I had a pair of shoes that I loved that were so chic, but I realized I couldn't even walk in them for 10 steps without them slipping off of my feet. The only way I could really keep them on was by scrunching my toes aggressively, and let me tell you, that is not a good look. Did not look chic, and I was just walking around like a baby deer trying to walk for the first time. So I truly feel like clothes in your closet need to support you and not distract you. And that also plays a factor in feeling effortless in your outfit. If you're constantly thinking about it when you're wearing it, constantly adjusting, or it's just uncomfortable, it's probably not anything that you're really gonna reach for, so better just to let it go. Next, let's talk about a category of clothing that I think so many of us have fallen into, and that is the if I like it, then I'll just buy it in another color. I get it, I did this too, and at the time I felt like I was being so smart about my wardrobe and how I spent my money. Like, I finally found my perfect t-shirt, so let me just get it in yellow, purple, and red, and I'll be done. And by doing this too, I also thought that I was doing a version of branching out and being adventurous in my closet, but spoiler alert, I was not. Because in my experience, what ends up happening is that you just end up reaching for the color that you love, and that's usually the one that you bought first. And the rest just kind of sit there. They either turn into fantasy self pieces, bully pieces, or pieces that you just don't really like. And the other problem with the if I like it, then I'll just buy it in another color thing is that it usually just ends up falling flat. Like, yeah, technically you have 10 different shirts, you have your options and variety, but at the end of the day, they're all in the same shape and same material. So if you're noticing this in your closet, what I'd recommend instead is focus on bringing in pieces that have a bit more texture or different shapes. That way you don't end up with the same cotton t-shirt in 5 different colors. This to me has been the key to curating a wardrobe that feels more dynamic, and I think is a better version of that variety that you might be looking for. Next is your past life uniforms. So these are the clothes that may have made sense for a different version of you. Like an old job, a style phase that you may have moved on from, or even a lifestyle that you used to live but maybe you no longer do because of moving or other life circumstances. I think a lot of these pieces can fall into a just-in-case type of category, and I think it can also even come from a feeling of nostalgia. Maybe those pieces remind you of a time when you wanted to feel a certain way, and that's what you feel like you're going to be missing if you declutter it. Don't forget that your style and your life is meant to evolve over time. So through your declutter, I think it's okay to make space for that. Next are the clothes that just piss you off. These are the clothes that they just bother you. There's something always weird about them. There's something off about them. Maybe they pinch somewhere that's kind of annoying. Maybe they're itchy, or maybe they just don't fit you well or just don't feel good on your body. I feel like when you're decluttering, it's very easy to almost create scenarios in your mind and even argue with yourself about why you should keep the pieces. I guarantee you that these are the pieces that you're just never gonna wear, especially if they're itchy, if they fit weird, or don't fit at all. And sometimes it can take a while to even put your finger on it. For example, I recently decluttered this blazer. I thought it was lovely. It's the perfect color. It's 100% wool. It's everything I wanted. But every time I put it on, something just felt weird about it. And I realized it's the shoulders. The shoulders are too dropped. They land in a strange place and they kind of like stick out in a weird way. So it just didn't look good and always felt off no matter how many times I tried to style it and no matter how much I liked it. So if there's pieces in your wardrobe that are like that, there's just always something a bit strange and they just sort of annoy you, get rid of them. There are enough annoying things in life. Your clothes don't have to be part of it. This one I think everyone watching can relate to. Let's talk about your just in case items. So these are the pieces that just sort of sneak past you and just make it through the declutter somehow every single time. Because we hesitate about them. You know, you're holding it up and you're saying, oh, I don't know, I kind of like this, I might wear this. And then you put it back thinking that you will, and surprise, 6 months later, you still haven't worn it. These are also usually the pieces that I just feel a little bit guilty about. It's pieces that maybe cost a lot of money, or maybe it's really classic, so I'm thinking it could come back in style and I want to make sure that I have it. I don't want it to be a waste of money, or I don't want to buy it again. This recently even happened to me when I decluttered this blazer. I finally got rid of it in my last declutter because I realized that this mindset was just holding me back for so long. I was so sick of it. And if we're honest with ourselves, I think all of that is just based out of fear. A fear that you might need it again, a fear that you're wasting money, a fear that you might have to buy it again. But I think the thing is that we are so adaptable, and if you do have a bigger wardrobe, there's so many other options that you can choose from. So that's what really motivated me to get rid of that piece at the end of the day. It was causing such a heaviness and a burden and a sense of guilt every time I wanted to keep it because I still never wore it. And if it is the money that's holding you back, hard truth, that money is long gone. If the piece is in good condition, then I do encourage you to try to sell it, but you're never going to recoup that cost. So I think just take it as a learning more than anything else. As much as we think it will, just in case is probably never coming. Number 9 are the clothes that cost you. Because here's the thing, whenever you buy something, you always end up paying more for it than just your money. I like to think about these pieces as the clothes that cost you money after the fact, and they cost you your time. So think things that might need extensive tailoring that's very expensive. It may be dry clean only, so are you willing to actually pay for that in order to maintain the clothes? Or it could even be pieces that just require a lot of maintenance, like steaming before you can actually wear them. Do you want to be spending your time and money this way on these pieces? Sometimes you may, which is fine, but other times it's just a big hassle. And it probably leads you to skipping over the piece in your closet more than anything else. And finally, number 10 are the clothes that actually check all the boxes. This is probably the most frustrating category in our closet because these clothes are good. They look good, they're in good condition, they fit well, and you actually like them. But we never wear them. You always end up choosing something else. And I've had so many pieces like this in my closet over the years. I even still have a few that I'm looking at them right now and I probably should get rid of them. Because every time I go to declutter these pieces, I look at them and think, oh, that's a solid piece. This is good. Why would I get rid of this? So back in the closet it goes, and then back to me never wearing it. Because I have alternatives in my wardrobes that I wear more. So think about if there's pieces in your wardrobe that you kind of keep as a backup, but that you don't actually wear. And think about what your go-to item is instead. If you have 5 pairs of black trousers, but you only wear this one pair over and over again, it might mean that you don't necessarily need those other pairs, even though they're perfectly fine. They are still taking up space in your wardrobe, they are still taking up a lot of your energy and decision making, and they could even turn into bully pieces down the line. And I'm not saying that you have to necessarily get rid of all of those pieces. Sometimes it is helpful to have a few backups, but I don't know if they need to necessarily live in your closet. And having too many multiples, even though it seems like a good idea, can eventually work against you in the long run. But these are probably some of the hardest pieces to declutter, so what do? Yes, you can sell them or donate them, but I think if you're really feeling attached or unsure about this category, then you can do one of 2 things. You can try styling it immediately and seeing why you never wear it. If you style it and then feel like you wish you wore something else, then I think that's your sign that that perfectly good piece isn't as good as you think it is. Or store them away and see if you even think about them in the next 3 to 6 months. If you forgot that it even exists, then I think that's your answer. So those are some of the clothes that you can declutter from your closet right now. If you do this, I think you're gonna feel so much better about your space and your wardrobe. And it's just gonna make getting dressed so much easier. And if you want even more help with this, I wrote a journal all about it. People seem to think it's pretty cool. I do too. I'll leave more info about it in the description. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you got some value here today. You can watch this video next, and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye.